Welcome to Forum Views, your local magazine show from Cavan TV with myself, Daniel Downey, and
Sheila Riley.
And remember, folks, you can get anything on Cavan TV that's acceptable, and or come on Cavan TV. Contact us on drumlinmedia@gmail.com or check our website out on cavantv.com. And today's guest we have Jet Calders. Jet, very welcome to Cavan TV. I see you're floating above Main Street there.
Thank
Comfortable?
you.
We've excelled ourselves at the back
Chilly
this week.
Jet, for those who don't know you, could you give us a wee introduction, who you are and what you do and where you're from?
Well, my name is Jet Calders. I'm from Cavan, originally from Arva, and the wife brought me into Cavan out of the country. She wanted to take me out of the bog, she says. Yeah, now she wants to go back to it.
Oh, God bless it. Oh, that happens too.
And but that's it. I'm a retired musician and just taking it easy and enjoying the good parts of life.
Good.
You're involved in a number of community projects around.
Yes,
aren't you, Jet?
I'm the PRO with the North Eastern Regional Family Support Network.
Very good.
They are a network set up to support families of addicts of any type of addiction, to look after the peers and the siblings and all the family. That's it can bring down a family. It can split a family. It can do an awful lot of damage, and we've seen it like with the blame game coming into it. The husband blaming the wife and the wife blaming the husband, and in the meantime the addict is carrying on regardless. He doesn't know this is going on because he can't realise it. He's only focused on his next fix. So we take them away from that environment and get them to look after themselves and learn them how to deal with it and get them to a better place.
Is there an element for a lot of those families, Jet, just, of the fear of people knowing outside of what's happening outside the front door? Of
course it does. The stigma is big time. We have to get them to get rid of that and not be afraid to talk about it. And they don't seem to realise that the neighbours know probably before they know.
Yeah,
you know, and it's the dogs in the street know who's taking drugs and who isn't, and who's falling up the street drunk. Like, everyone will know it, but there's a denial in a lot of families. It wouldn't happen to us. It couldn't happen to us. We're above that, but there's nobody immune. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take it doesn't pick anybody out. It can hit anybody.
Yeah.
And we have the proof of that. We have a lot of people visit us. We work from Drogheda, Carrickmacross, Kells, Navan, Cavan, Inniskillen, Monaghan. We have a big area. We cover a big area, and we have. We also work with the Drugs Task Force.
Very good.
With the Cavan Forum, which is
so there
immensely
is interagency work there as well.
Yeah, very helpful to the whole thing here in Cavan.
And Jet, if it sparks a chord with anyone who's watching, how do they get in contact with, or how do they access?
There is we hold meetings every Monday night in Tower Hamlet, number 3 Tower Hamlet, and it's completely confidential, and anything that's talked about or said in there, you'd be surprised the people you meet in there. You get a terrible surprise when you see the people you do meet, and it is very confidential.
That's open to anybody every Monday night.
Yeah, and there is a website under the North East Regional Family Support Network, but there's contact numbers and help all the way. Yeah, all the way. There's nothing left out.
Well done, Jet. Very, very, and we need that kind of service now.
Oh, it's so badly needed in today's world.
Well, on to our first article today. We're talking about a taste of Cavan.
Yes,
and,
a happy story.
A happy turn. A successful taste of Cavan gives organisers an appetite for more, is the headline in the Anglo Celt. apparently it was fantastic. People flocked to it. Literally thousands of people
Something
came
around
to it.
8,000 people. I mean, it's an incredible achievement.
That speaks for itself.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, you can see where it's going. Like all you have to do is switch on the telly every day. It's not only a cookery program. Holy God! It's every second program is a cookery program. 15-minute meals. And
it's true. But doesn't an event like the Taste of Cavan, it allows local producers to showcase what they're at.
And local produce,
to make people realise what's on their doorstep. Like your own neighbour from years back, Barney Cully, he was one of the ones that was interviewed in the Celt, and he spoke about Cully's bakery in Arva. And I think to showcase, to highlight that Cully's is from Cavan, and maybe the next time somebody's going into the supermarket, that they'll think twice about what bread they buy. Do you know what I mean?
Cully's batch, you couldn't pass it.
Sure, could you ever? That's right.
When I was a young fella, Cully's is a long time in Arva. When I was a gosling, you'd be sent down, Mammy give you the price of a loaf, go down and get a batch loaf there in Cully's. And you got up to the house. We lived about a quarter of a mile. Be not really too close.
Hollow inside.
I used to get battered when I go home, but the hungovers got the better of me. And the taste of the lovely fresh batch. Nobody makes it like Cully's.
Well, I think that there was lip smacking good in the Kilmore anyway, by all accounts of the Taste of Cavan.
I think we have a photograph. A celebrity chef there,
Donald
Keoghan,
on fire, literally.
Who raises temperature during the cook-off, whether that's from the cooking or
you
otherwise.
Can't see it really from that shot, but that pan is on fire. So,
but no, do you know what? It's great to have a sense of pride in Cavan. It's part of the This Is Cavan branding. You know, to rebrand the county and make the county more attractive to come to. Because so many people who visit Ireland or from elsewhere in Ireland, you say, have you ever been to Cavan? Go, oh yeah, I've passed through it. On their way to Donegal or their way to Galway from Belfast.
To a football match,
yeah, that's true.
That was it.
But it'd be good to make Cavan a place to stop and stay.
I think as well to highlight for local people what is on offer here. I thought that was a good thing it did as well. Part of the whole.
It's great the incentives that are coming to the fore here in Cavan at the minute, doing all this kind of stuff. As you say, to make it a place to stop instead of drive through.
Exactly, yeah, it's great to see it.
Well, speaking of other Cavan produce that's being showcased around the world, the Stripes are set to jam with Modfather Weller in London. That's Paul Weller, and they're just going from success to success to success.
Yeah, it's something else. Yeah. But I have seen them on Cavan TV, and I've seen them live on the town. And they're brilliant young lads.
Yeah, they're very talented.
Good, clean cut.
You'd know now. You're in the business, so you'd know.
Well, they're clean cut, and they remind me of the young Beatles starting out. I know they've been given that label, but you can see where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And the music they do, and they're such a tight band. I like I said, I played music a long time, and I know the difference between good and bad, and I have to admire the young drummer that's in it. He's something else, and they're all good. But
sure, you would know the Beatles comparison, because didn't you play in the Cavern?
I did, yeah. I played in the Cavern, yeah. When the Beatles were there, I didn't know them as the Beatles. I didn't know they were ever going to become famous as the Beatles, or I'd stayed around carrying the guitar for them, or brushing their shoes, or something like that. But, oh yeah, there was I think there was 6 of them. Like every group then, there could be 5 or 6.
Right.
It was a kind of a place where people were just learning. We were just learning. We were a sound. There was 3 of us, and we were only kids, we were only 16, and we were only thinking of starting a group, but we hadn't a clue. We were doing our best, though. I wanted to be a drummer, Now Ringo Starr wasn't with them then, but I think it was Paul Best, was it? I think it was Paul Best was the drummer then. But they were going through a kind of a time when they were trying out different fellas too at the time. And we'd go in there, we were only allowed in just so we could bang around and test the sound for the boys, Yeah. But sure, we'd maybe do a Buddy Holly number or something like that, or try and do one, But it was the starting point for a lot of young people to Cavern.
My God, isn't it incredible to look back and think, the place that it has in history now, really.
Maybe chapter 1 will be the next Cavern.
Yeah. Who knows?
I have a photograph, it's somewhere up in my attic. I'm afraid to take it down. I was playing drums with John Lennon, you know.
I can't believe you've left that up in the attic, Jeff. You'll
well,
have
it's
to
with
take
it.
it down.
I have to take it down because I had
Jeff,
stuff in
right now there are multiple people breaking into your house to get that,
Oh,
to
God.
sell it on.
Oh, they haven't seen my 3 Yorkies, you know. They'll not get too far. Yeah.
And we have, I think we have a picture of Paul Weller as well, referring to the Stripes as the Stones.
Yeah.
He compares them to the Rolling Stones. Fantastic.
I don't know where he's getting that from now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I grew up with the Stones. And there were different, there was like day and night between them and the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Beatles were like, the Stripes dressed the same and
Yeah.
in a uniform
They're
type of
certainly
thing.
modelling them
And
now.
that was the Beatles way.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Stones just didn't do that.
Jet, you also played with Phelim Cox, which the great
Oh, yeah.
Phelim Cox, who is a grandfather of the drummer in
Yeah.
the Stripes, isn't that right?
I remember, yes. I remember this guy we were playing, Mick Flavin and myself were playing in Arva one night, and he came to me, he says, Jet, he says, with a big American accent, Jet, he says, how would you like to come to New York? And I says, well, hello, I'd love it, we're going now. So, anyway, he booked us for 6 weeks in New York, and he says, I need another 5 groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I went round gathering, the first one I got was Phelim Cox and the Magnets, and different groups from around
Very
Cavan that I knew.
good.
I
Yeah.
got them all, we all done 6 weeks in New York, and so we never forgot it.
Oh, how would you?
Oh,
Wonderful.
there's something
That's
else.
fantastic. God, that's an incredible thing
I
to do.
still have the newspaper reports, a big headline, Jet lands in New York.
Oh, brilliant.
This was the Irish,
And what
the Irish
decade
section of
roughly
the
would-
Irish Mail, or
What
whatever you call
decade
it.
would that have been, Jeff?
Pardon?
What decade would that have been?
That'd be the 70s, early 70s, yeah.
Okay.
Gosh,
Amazing.
that's fantastic.
We have a piece of history sitting here in the chair
Yeah.
beside
I have
Sheila.
them in the
Absolutely.
attic too. I must get all that down.
Get it
Jesus,
down
there'll be a
before
raid
someone
on that
else does.
attic.
All these newspapers with all the
There'll be an
write-ups we got, you know.
Oh, for
There is
God's
going to be a
sake.
crime spree in your
There's,
attic, you know.
there's surely a book and all that now, Jet.
Yeah, I know. There was a guy from Longford. He was correspondent for the Longford Leader,
Mm-hmm.
and he used to write back a couple of paragraphs every week about what's happening in New York. And,
Oh, very good.
and every
yes.
week it was about us playing in New York. Went to see Jet and the boys in the Archway or
Excellent.
the Four Green
lovely.
Fields or somewhere else, you know.
Well, Jet, you know you have truly arrived when you're in the Longford Leader. That's it. So we're
Oh,
all sorted.
hello.
Yeah, you've absolutely arrived.
Well, we're on
Okay.
to our next article today, and it's Baileyburgh bulb
this is-
planting.
What sort of bulbs did they plant,
A
Daniel?
variety. I think there was no article with this. It was just a
No.
one-liner.
They're not
and-
low energy, like.
No.
No, it was nothing at all.
Very good.
Used bulbs.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
all right. I thought they might be working for the ESB or something.
But there's a great photograph, that photograph
It
you
is,
showed
yeah.
there. Yeah,
And
they're
it's
all out there with their
Barry
bulbs.
Kavanagh, one of the organisers who we've had on the show
That's
before.
right,
Barry from
great
the
guest.
forum as well.
Mm.
All right.
And he's it's a record-breaking bulb planting. So
We have to find out more about that.
We do,
When I was
definitely.
Is
looking
it
at
done in a
stuff,
hot
I
house or outdoors? Or?
outdoors around Baileyburgh, all over Baileyburgh.
Mm.
So I'm
So
sure
Baileyburgh
Baileyburgh in
will be in
spring.
bloom in
Yeah.
spring.
Well, if
I'll
yes,
tell you,
Fabulous.
Barry Kavanagh has done some amazing work in that area, and he's such a humble man that he'd never actually say. I'll give you one example. He went to the old grounds of the Equestrian Centre that's been left fallow for 20, 30 years. He asked permission from the council, could he dig it up? He dug it up and he delivered all the old horse manure that's just rotted in and gave it to all the gardens in Baileyburgh for
Oh my
fertiliser.
God.
that's brilliant.
Baileyburgh will have the best gardens, the best public spaces come spring.
Well,
Because
if
of that
they,
man.
Fantastic.
well, I'll tell you, if they can get bulbs in spring and get them blooming and going, he'll have done something else because it's the highest point in Ireland for frost. It
Yeah.
gets frost and snow when no other part of Ireland would have it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first to get it and the last to lose it.
Baileyburgh.
Baileyburgh, above sea level, it's the highest.
Jet, you're full of information.
And
That's
if
a
he
real
can grow
gem.
bulbs in that climate,
Yeah.
he's on to a winner.
I'd say he's the
I
man.
think- I think he might
he's
know.
a great
He-
horticulturalist.
yeah.
Brilliant man.
Brilliant,
man. Yeah. Anyway, our next story is not as happy.
No.
Illegal moneylenders on the rise, says Mabs, and it's just basically about, well, it's the times really that we're living in, and we have a kind of a Mabs breakdown there, probably the next slide we have, and if you borrow €500, for example, and there we have it on the TV, Jet, if you borrow €500, loan period 52 weeks over a year, you're paying back, what's that, doorstep credit, €280, as opposed to, what's the cost of the loan is $35.60 from a financial licensed one. The cost of it's $280 from a doorstep creditor.
This is a very frightening article, really, in terms of what it highlights is that there is a huge level of unlicensed money lending out there, and that's very hard to control. But why are these people not being prosecuted? Like, it is illegal to lend money without a license.
Yeah. Oh, it is highly illegal. There is, some of them have a license.
That's right.
Just some from Dundalk or Drogheda, but
it's the ones that are unlicensed.
The illegal ones, we in the family support, we actually had a woman that her son, well, he had to get his money somewhere, and they gave him the money, and it was. He eventually was owing about 500, and he was paying off so much of his dole every week to it, but it was going up. There was no way he was ever going to pay it, but they got rid of him. I'll not go into the story of it again, but they did get rid of him. They gave him a warning, that they would be taking number of the car, and if they were seen around the area again, that the community were going to do something about it. And I thought you were talking about Anglo-Irish Bank there when you said illegal money lenders.
Well, I mean, when you think about the interest being higher than the debt itself,
Sean Quinn wouldn't agree with you.
Yeah, no, it's frightening, really.
It is terrible.
In the run-up to Christmas now, it's really frightening to think what people will, that people are out there. The reality is they can't get money from the regular banks, from regular institutions, and that's what sends them to
they've fallen through they've fallen through the top door. A lot of people that go with, well, I know one man that he is looking for money for Christmas, and we're talking about these. I'm trying to talk him out of it, but he can't go to the credit union because he owed them money and had to I think bring him to court once to get it back. These are in the good times. And says, hey, would you not go back to them, explain your story, start saving a bit with them every week? They will help you, or go to MABs, and they will act as a kind of a go-between, and they will give you all the advice you'd want, But if you go down that road today, you're digging a hole for yourself, and you'll never get out of it. Christmas only comes once a year, but these guys come back every week.
Yeah, they do. That's a good point. But there is a thing. I mean, this isn't a very big town, realistically, and people know the people who are lending money. So I can't understand why they aren't prosecuted. Like, there is an issue there in relation to these people should be just literally taken off the streets.
You see, there's probably it's probably illegal, all right, but there's probably too much trouble.
You're probably relying on people.
And they have to follow these
and as well.
Follow the trail of it.
Yeah.
To see, like, who's going to give evidence?
Yeah, that's true too.
Like,
you talked about stigma earlier. There's a huge stigma in relation to that too.
If you are lending money, getting money off them, you're not going to go to court and get your name in the paper. I was borrowing of them. So they know what they're doing. Like,
I think they know the people they're targeting. That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, we mentioned Quinn earlier on, and Quinn is our next story. Quinn Group distanced themselves from misdirected. It's interesting, misdirected roadblock protest. So
this is the groups that are taken over by that are currently running the Quinn companies. Isn't that right?
Yeah, well,
it happened on Monday. I think it's they were basically blocked. The companies were blocked from.
There's a lot to be said for and for against it. Like whoever said was misdirected. Like some people think it's properly directed, and some people think it's misdirected.
Yeah.
Like, like personally, I think it's
a picture there, Jet, of the
personally I think it's wrong. Because they don't seem to realise they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
These guys are a lot of them are working, but even if Sean Quinn was still there, he would have had to let half of them go anyway, because with the downturn in the building sector, like 80% of his stuff went to the building sector.
Now, and what in relation to, we've seen today, Jet, in relation to the fire in Derry Lynn at the windmills.
That's
another, and obviously the PSNI are looking into that in terms of, basically as they're investigating whether or not it was a criminal offence. It kind of doesn't look so good, it has to be said. So you know, that's happening as well. That carries on from what you're saying there about the roadblocks, you know.
Yeah, it's like there's a few people taking these things into their own hands, and they're not going to get anywhere. All they're doing is going to, these people pull out altogether and close the place, and they'll all be out of work.
Yeah.
Like,
There is
it's
fear
a hard line,
about that
3 or
could
4
happen.
people, I think, like, around Darren Lane that must be after doing this, like, you know. But why, I don't know, unless they have an alternative quarry they want to open up or something like that.
God, Jet, you're a great man for the conspiracy theories.
I love it. Brilliant.
I read Jack Higgins a good bit. And, they're not doing anybody any favours.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Like,
there's a lot of fear in those communities about what could happen if that type of behaviour continued.
Yeah, there is a lot of fear. I've been talking to people, like, you know, to support Sean Quinn. I genuinely do support them,
Yeah.
but they're not prepared to go with vandalism and burning down.
No, that's not what's
Like,
right.
they're putting people out of work,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a very selfish way of trying to. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
You know, it's the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah.
Like, Sean Quinn is acting in a dignified manner. They should follow suit and take a lead from him.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Okay.
Well, that brings us. Are we going to an ad break now, perhaps?
We might be.
And we should be back after this.
Pat Short here. You're watching Cavan TV.
Welcome back to Forum Views, folks, and we're going through the newspapers today. Thanks to the Anglo, Celt and Irish Times for dedicating their stories to Cavan TV's Hot Topics show. And we've Jet Calvert on the show this week, who's going through the topics with us. And, of course, my lovely co-host, Sheila Riley.
Lovely. Ooh.
Yeah. She would win a lovely girls'
Oh,
competition.
God. Can I
That's
smack
where you
him?
let you know her.
Go
No,
on.
she can't.
They're not letting me. They're telling me no.
Well, on to our next article, really fast, is referendum. The children's referendum is coming up tomorrow.
That's right.
And the Anglo Celt has a... It's interesting, the Anglo Celt has a yes and no, very even, 50-50%. And I'm not sure if I caught the underneath also is another article that says referendum will help to protect children's rights. I enjoyed the top articles, it's 50-50. And then another article underneath just kind of tipped the balance there.
Well, what you
Is
need
this
to remember is papers aren't like public funded organisations such as RTE. They can be biased.
Yeah.
They can call for, although they don't, in fairness, call for one or other. But
I
I
suppose,
called for, in my newspaper, I called for a yes vote.
Did you?
I did.
Okay, very
Yes.
good, very good. Jet, what do you think? This
Well,
referendum is...
You know, it's only a few hours away from voting, and I still haven't made my mind up.
Which on
because,
that one?
I can't. I thought kids were fairly well protected. I know when you go back into the abuse things, like, you know, but a lot of them have been put to bed. A lot of them, like, there is a lot of vigilance out there, even in the families, in homes,
Yeah.
with the parents. Like, it can become from one extreme to the other. It can become a state, maybe like Russia, where your children, or China, where you have no say over your child.
Yeah.
All you do, a mother bears the child, but it belongs to the state after that. there's that end of it.
Or the ultimate evil example is Ceausescu.
Yeah. You're rearing children for the state. And like every family can't have an argument or a row over a child.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can't understand, or I can't believe there's not a family in Ireland doesn't have a row in front of a child, or a child throws a strop. And if children aren't that stupid, they're more intelligent now at a younger age, they can use something like this to get their own way.
Mm-hmm.
I report you to the authorities. You're not treating me right, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. The kids are all on laptops now from they're about 4 months, and they're very...
I know what you're saying, there is that, but I mean, essentially it's far down the line. Like, you're talking about exceptional circumstances.
Yeah, I am. I'm picking out the worst scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Because the best scenario is nice.
Vast majority of families will not be affected by this.
Well, I'd be happy.
One way or the other.
I'd be happy to vote yes if I can definitely get that into my head in the next 12 hours. I haven't made up my mind. I'm not for a yes or a no vote. I think like if it would give protection against predators, against like it doesn't seem to be mentioning anything, only the family.
Yeah.
And that's what's making me just hold off to make my mind up. It's like get it into my head. Is it going to be the breaking up of families, or eventually, or will it help the family unit?
Or will it be the protection of children who have been neglected, or who the state hasn't helped up?
Well, they are being protected as it is, because I have a daughter that fosters 4 kids at the moment, and I had another daughter in Braid that fostered them for years. Still does. Well, she passed on, but her husband still fosters them. A kind of a safe house, and this is the social worker should be a referendum on social workers. Are they doing their job or are they not doing their job?
That's
and
an important point.
A weakness of watchdog social workers.
Isn't there an issue about resources?
They're dependent on the child now to make the complaint, or the neighbour.
Yeah.
That child was out all hours in the cold last night. They're not looking after. Like,
that could happen today. That that neighbour could make the complaint.
Yeah, but now they have the authority to walk in, take the child. Before they have to go to court and get an order.
Well, this is it goes in the piece in the referendum says about exceptional circumstances. It's the state in exceptional circumstances will go in and basically take the kids. It's the definition of exceptional circumstances that makes you uncomfortable and it makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, that'd be okay. I'd be all for that. But I find when a thing is put into law, it can be used by different barristers and different state agencies for their own agenda.
Yeah. Do you think as well that the level, because there's less trust in politicians now at the minute, Jet, do you think that is making people more fearful about this referendum than they might be? That they say, well, I don't trust what they're telling me. I don't believe what they're telling me.
See, the way it was in Ireland, we always trusted the family. The family was always trusted. If a couple weren't looking after their kids, the granny or the granddad wouldn't be long telling them, or the uncle and that. And it was always a family orientated country, this.
Yeah.
But except in exceptional circumstances, which can happen anywhere. But I'd like to have seen a bit more education on it, because I get it very hard to understand. So I read it, and there's an awful lot of deep stuff in it that you'd need to be a barrister to figure it out.
Do you think it's ambiguous?
I do.
Yeah.
I think it's not plain and simple, the facts.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people do feel that. That's why there's a low turnout.
Yeah.
Even those who have voted already in the islands, for example. There has been a very low turnout. Which kind of leads us on to our next article. We're talking about the children's referendum, and it's going ahead despite the Supreme Court ruling that it shouldn't. That the Sheila, do you have more information on this one?
Well, basically, the Supreme Court argued that the brochure produced by the government was, what do we see, not fair, that information was not fair, equal or impartial, and basically that money had been misspent in that regard. You know, that it was contrary to the McKenna judgment, which was made in 1994, that the government has a duty to present both sides of the argument, and even that the information provided by the government contains a misstatement, which in my language and everybody else's language is what it's not a fib necessarily, but it's not obviously the truth. So like that's a serious issue in relation to the production of their information, a major mess up by the government. We have some
people saying, I mean, on the radio today, saying that it's a constitutional crisis even. You know, is that going too far?
I think it is. It's just that I think they just needed somebody to give a Christmas box to somebody, and they got some printing company, get them $500,000 to print these things without thinking about it. And
well, no, they got their legal advice from the Attorney General's office, and that legal advice was provided to them, and on the basis of that, they went ahead with this.
Well, he should be made pay the bill instead of the taxpayer. Like
it's a she, but it's her.
It's a
office.
she, yeah.
Yes,
you think she'd have more knowledge of the whole thing, but she probably never even seen it. Probably
no,
one of
I think it was shown to her office. I heard, I think Leo Varadkar, I think on the radio this morning talking about it. But the fact is, one of the interesting things I thought was that the referendum commission were aware from the 31st of October that there was something wrong, or that there was something could be misconstrued in relation to the document on the website in particular, and they didn't remove it until the 7th of November. So they did leave it go. Like, I mean, they should have taken action earlier, should they?
Yeah. They know how to do all these things, but when it comes to that, looking after their own.
Do you think this goes back to them? The trust, like the people just
the trust is there.
Like
trust isn't there because they keep making one mistake after another.
Yeah, and that affects the level of trust that's out there. Then
it does. Yeah,
their credibility is damaged.
I don't think it'll change people's yes or no.
Yeah,
you know, but it just makes you think these legal-minded people that are supposed to be in charge of the whole thing will get their act together. And
but these are the same people who are telling it could be the same legal advice that Michael Noonan is getting in relation to the bankers' pensions, that he can't. That's why he can't go after the bankers.
Well, it kind of leads us on to our next story about these people are paid very well. The people in power are paid quite well, and our next article is about that. And pension entitlements are more valuable than salaries for ministers of state.
This is for the ministers of state.
Yeah, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
I think the key figure there, and it's actually blown up for us courtesy of the Times, that this ministers of state in the current government, were they to go to the full term in 2016, would get 19.7 million in pension in the pension pot. Were they in the private sector, they would get the lower figure that you see there for the equivalent 10.2 million. Like, it's double.
We see how that's broken down on a yearly basis. Is a salary for the Minister of State is 37,000, but they also get the TD salary of 92,000, making their salary 130,000 euros. It's just crazy.
It's absolutely crazy, because their pension fund seems to go up while everybody else is going down.
Except the bankers.
Theirs never go down. They always have money in the pot for themselves, nothing for anyone else. But anything that's going, I'm terrible sorry, I didn't want to be a politician or the Taoiseach or something like that, or the president, as say. But I seen even today the Christmas cards. They get the postage. They get postage for maybe they're sending them to Ho Chi Minh and all these people abroad, if he's still about.
Do we not have embassies to do that work? Why are they?
No, well, this is in relation to there was a row in the Senate during the week where one senator said that he thought they should abolish the Christmas cards, and another senator accused him of being Scrooge.
Yeah, be Scrooge. So, I know. And not a penny in the country.
Not a penny in the country.
Maybe we need Scrooges now, and it'd save us a few coins.
We have a few examples.
A few examples of ministers of state here as well. some of the figures there.
Absolutely, look at this, yeah.
You know, it's just, I mean, I would consider myself, I wouldn't be hyper into politics, but I'd consider myself a little clued in. But when I read some of these names, I'm wondering, what have they done? Like Dinny McGinley, what has he done? You know, Alan Kelly, what has he done? You
Transport, I think.
Public, computer transport. Yeah. You know, it's just, it's insane.
I think there would be a lot of people on that list that nobody is aware of them. Yeah. But can I just draw your attention to the typo? If you look at portfolio, age, and on the third line there, go back to put that back on. It says tiers, TD. It meant years. But when I looked at it first this morning, I was going, oh my God, is that like some sort of payment for hardship? Oh no, it's years.
Just a typo.
It's a typo. Even the Times makes typos. There's hope for the rest of us.
She's not crying when she's leaving.
Oh God, no.
They just print money for themselves.
Yeah.
And I can't understand. It's dishonest to me. It's just dishonest when the way the country is, for a little country like this to be able to pay these
for
people.
That type of money, yes.
And they don't even do an 8-hour day. Some
well,
might.
They say they do. They say they work, you know, evenings.
At home.
That they're doing. That they're constantly working. They're going to meetings. They're attending. That's what they're saying. Going to meetings,
looking for votes. It's
going to funerals.
Like I was looking at in the Dáil on television today. It said there was about 9-10 people there. The camera just zoomed on the couple that was there, but when it panned around, there was nobody there.
Sitting, so.
They all were going to the toilet at the one time.
Yeah.
So no, it was discussed.
Well, the Friday sittings are less because they can have less people usually because they do go down the country for their constituency clinics usually.
Right.
So you can. I'm just being the devil's advocate here. Anyway.
Well, look. Let's see if there.
That'll only depress us.
Well, let's talk about something a bit more cheery. Online system failure for student grants. It's failing abysmally. Students are not getting their. This is still depressing. 50,000 students so far haven't received the third level grants because of the disastrous central online system being used. Basically, it's an automated system that's not working properly.
It's a new system. They brought it in. It's just Susie is the name of it. It was going to sort out all the problems out with student grants and
it made it just fucked everything up.
Do you remember the voting machines?
Yes.
Sort everything out too.
And the money we're still paying to store them, which is crazy.
Where do they get them? I think to make all these, sign these contracts in a pub or something like that. Somebody giving them something.
Well, they gave this contract out to County Dublin VEC, who originally were doing the grants for themselves, obviously, and now they're doing the grants for something like 60 authorities. You know, so you have, I think, that article mentions that there's 65 people doing the work that was done by 60 different agencies previous to this. Like, it's crazy. No, so what if they process? Is it 15% or something?
Something like that. Yeah, we have some of the figures there as well. It's so they're drafting in people to process 800 per day, and there's 48,000 applications yet to be completed. So how many is that? 800 into 48,000.
I hope Susie's getting well paid.
Yeah, Susie.
She probably is.
Susie'd want to be getting a few squid. But like there is a serious point behind this because there are people in college. This is November.
It's almost December.
Yeah, almost December.
Accommodation. Everything. Pay for
even there was, even students can't get access to the libraries or things like that because they haven't been able to register because they don't know whether they're going to get their grant or not. So like it's a very serious matter.
Why did they wait until the middle of the year of the teaching year to do this though?
And the other
they
thing
could have done it all summer.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is, after and we covered it on the last show we did a few weeks ago, potential of students not getting their grants because their parents didn't pay a household charge. Why would you pay your household charge if that's the system delivering your grant?
Political blackmail, they'll stoop to they'll stoop to any length to keep the people down. There's no doubt about it. When people are talking about this, they're leaving the government alone, you see, and they should just.
There's a good point in that in terms but as well as that though, Jed, isn't it coming back again? It's the same people they're chipping away at all the time. Like who needs the student grant? It's you know, it's not the more well off, it's the less well off, and these middle earners who are totally
the same
squeezed,
people,
you know, it's the same people.
are affected with everything.
Yeah.
They take it, it's whatever kind of a mindset this government has, they can't seem to think further than the middle ground, you know. And it's everyone below a certain level is getting hit.
Yeah.
And everyone above that line, nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
You know, and they are the ones that can afford to pay.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there's definitely a sense of that out
You
there.
see,
and
yeah.
you can see why people feel like that. Really.
There's families like the children's allowance, for instance. That I always thought that should have been means tested. The people, well-off people, don't really need it. That's stuck away for their kids. They don't need a student grant because they've children's allowance from the day they were born, stuck away in a bank just for their college.
Yeah, just for saving.
You know,
That's what
the
we're going
poorer
to start doing, is saving up for stuff.
Yeah, and the poorer families can't do that.
Yeah,
they
they
need
don't
that.
have it
They're
as
waiting
well.
for the post office to open when it's due
Yeah.
to get it out, you know. But they're the people that have been hit. It's just not right.
On that note, we're going to have to go for a break on a happy note, but we will be back after this, folks.
Pat Short here. You're watching Cavan TV.
Welcome back to Forum Views, folks. We're going through all the stories from this week, and with myself, Daniel Downey, and Sheila Riley, and Jet Calders this week, who's going through all
He's
these
still,
happy,
Jet's still on
happy
Main
stories.
Street.
Yeah,
as you will see.
Main Street, yeah. So our next one is, again, another payroll system's gone mad. The HSE €130 million per year cost payroll system is to be replaced. And
one of the most interesting things I thought about that article was that that's PPARS, the famous PPARS that there was all the controversy about. It's one of 8 payroll systems for the HSE.
8.
Yes, according to that piece there, yeah. Like, that's incredible, isn't it?
Hello, they wouldn't have that money in America. You know, like, why not? One good one should be able to do it if the right people.
But this never was fully rolled out, you see. There was always problems.
Yeah.
with it.
Well, you know, I mean, there's the 2 subheadings to that article. You know, wages staff can be redeployed to frontline work if services outsourced.
Yeah, I liked this. I just have to read
crazy.
this paragraph because I really thought this was bizarre. All right, yeah, that it was one of 8, and
They're
that
just
they were
gonna
going
shift
to
around the
several
people.
hundred people worked in payroll, and these could now be redeployed to frontline services if the service was outsourced. So picture this: you're in A&E in the general or wherever. And you say to the one who's, I don't know, sewing your leg back on, where were you last week? Oh, I was
Payroll.
working in payroll. I was working on
It's
PPARS.
brilliant.
But it's grand. Like, I just love the way they just throw that out there as if that's the solution.
And also, you know, they're talking about saving money, and what they're about to do is they're about to keep on the staff in that payroll department somewhere else, doing something that's not payroll, and outsource. So they're going to hire another company to do the payroll.
But do you think as well there's an issue with the money? €130 was spent on this system. We've heard debates all week about the Children's Hospital, which they go 130
Very,
million.
very cheap.
Sorry, 130 million.
That's a
I beg your
bargain.
pardon. Cheap at every price. But we've heard debate all week about the Children's Hospital, which they reckon is going to cost anywhere between 400 and 600 million you're, yes, 600 million? Yes, I
Yeah,
have it,
yeah.
right?
That's only a ballpark.
And that 130 is wasted on something like this. Isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
It's like the comparison when you think of it.
Yeah.
But that's only one part of it. We only hearing about this now.
Yes.
God knows how many
Yeah.
holes are in the ground where all
Yeah.
these millions are going to.
You were going to say as well about the second point on that.
Yeah, the other one is that over 166 million euros per year are paid in staff allowances to 104,000 staff.
Yes,
166
104,000.
million euros in allowances. It
My
just
God.
it just staggers the mind.
It does, yeah. And my God, it's
I think things like
I'm
that just really
speechless.
frustrate people.
Do you know
We're going to
what?
be talking about, we talk about the budget in
Yeah.
a couple of weeks' time. We're going to be here talking about the budget, and then you have something like this now.
Yeah.
I think that's really frustrating. For
It'd
people.
make you want to move,
yeah.
but not to Greece,
But when
which is our
these-
next story.
Oh,
Eh.
did there?
Greece has passed its third austerity package, and the reaction is next photo. There we go.
They've taken it well, so.
The new bill contains wage, pension, and welfare cuts of 13.5 billion euros.
I think do we have a breakdown of the type of
We
stuff
do.
that
We
they're
do.
talking
Jess,
about?
I want to ask you, if the government turned around tomorrow in Ireland and did this, right? We have retirement increases from 65 to 67 overnight. Pensioners and public servants to lose a bonus of 2 extra monthly payments at Christmas, Easter and summer. Public utility employee pay / cut by 30 to 35%. Cut of 5 to 15% on pensions above €1,000. Some of these are
Well, I think, if you look at the public utility employee pay / 30%, I think that if you work out, particularly with some of the lower paid public servants in this country, like they've taken quite a whack on their salaries, and aren't the young teachers who are after going in, aren't their new salaries now something like 30% less than their than the older teachers, the teachers who maybe were in 4 or 5 years ago, who started off, didn't they protest about that? So I think a lot of what they are voting for in Greece we probably have here, but we just don't realise it, if you know what I mean.
This is it, and I was listening to someone from Brussels or the ECB, from the ECB, I think yesterday evening, and congratulating Greece, you're doing well. But now here comes the next one, the next austerity package.
Yeah.
There'll be nothing to build on in Greece because every place is burned down and wrecked.
Well, I had a very frank conversation with a guy in Germany last week, who basically said about Ireland, we want our pensioners' money back. That's and that was the final point of the debate over
but they were
money
throwing the
moving
money
and
out
stuff.
like it was confetti.
Yeah.
The
I said, well, you
banks
shouldn't gamble that money.
Yeah.
You know,
the bondholders, they just gambled on Ireland. Like again, they were sold a pig in a poke, like John Quinn, and they were throwing money out of them, and it's very hard not to take
This
it.
is it. I mean, like it was cheap German and British money really that essentially flooded the market here, and that sent everybody crazy, borrowing at the rates they did. So, like, isn't it easy enough now for the Germans to be turning around saying we want our pensioners' money back? Well, they shouldn't have given it over here in the first place.
Exactly. Well, I always said Hitler couldn't take over Europe with guns, and Angela Merkel is taking it over with money. And she is at the moment. But when you think of Greece, like, if they can't make a go of a big tourist country, that thousands of millions of people flock every year just for the holidays and spend money there. And if they can't get it right, what chance do we have?
If they have money coming in that we'll never have.
Never
no matter
have.
how successful the gathering is.
because we always talk about tourism will get us out of it, or
All we had was the fly.
And where the money goes to that's another question.
And the
as well.
cook-off, of course.
Well, we're on to our next story is the US election.
Yes.
Sheila's special story. I'm sure Sheila spent a lot of late nights watching debates.
Conveniently
and
happened to be off this week. It was super. I got to watch. But in the end, it turned out to be damn good because Obama, and it looked like it in the last couple of days that he was going to win, and he did. So it's great for him, but for election watchers, Not so good.
Jet, was it a shock, a surprise? Or?
No, I know. I expected it when I was just looking at it one evening, and the percentages, and they were neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see that Romney, when they'd done the comparisons, all the Latinos, the coloured people, all the marginalised people were on Obama's side.
Yeah.
And all the middle class to the wealthy white people were on Romney's side.
Except the ones that fly on airplanes, because Romney wants to open windows on airplanes, he says.
That was one of the things he said.
The gas.
But you made a very good point, though, in terms of the type of people who were supporting Romney.
The money people were supporting Romney, but no more than any other country, there's not that as many money people in America than there used to be. And, I don't know what it is, the masses will always speak out anyway, and they did. Even the Medicare program that Obama brought in, that was would never have gone in under the Republicans.
No,
they were fully against it. It was he had a big fight to get that through, but he did. Now he hasn't done everything he said he'd do, but it's very hard to do it when the country starts collapsing all around you. And this Sandy, she's really put the bottom of the bucket altogether. It's going to take an awful lot to get them back. Them people I was looking at tonight on television, and what the winter they're in for. I don't think they're doing enough.
It would appear they're not doing enough.
They're not putting in emergencies and getting it cleared up quick enough. The army should be in there, and everyone should be in clearing them sites and building prefabricated places. Just get them up for the winter. Anyway,
today they put on a fuel rationing now in New York.
Yeah, I see that, and but that always makes me kind of laugh. I seen queues of cars with their engines running, queuing up for petrol. And I say, how did they what are they wasting their petrol for? Try and get petrol.
Warm though, Jet, because it is cold over there at the minute. They probably are trying to keep warm, to try and keep some level of heat in them.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be more important to get heat to
to
the people. Where's all this oil and petrol and all the big oil wells that they have? I don't think enough has been done. I just don't think so.
It certainly would appear that way. And there was a report on Channel 4 during the week from New York, and the reporter noted that in the afternoon that he was out in Staten Island, I think it was, in the whole afternoon he only had seen one Red Cross van, and he didn't know where that Red Cross van was going. It just seemed to be just driving around. I thought that was very important.
Is that what's considered a state of emergency?
It should be saturated with.
They should be
with army. Everyone should be there. Get these people sorted.
And it's it's one it's the United States of America. It's supposed to be the leader of the free world, and if they can't organise themselves in a disaster, my God, what hopes the rest of us have?
You've
it shows what nature can do to anybody. Nature is still supreme,
That's
true. I suppose New Orleans as well was another example that it was badly organised. The rescue.
I don't think though anywhere like New Orleans, in fairness, was a different level of badly organised. They just left them high and dry. Really, in this case, they are doing something which is not enough.
So America being the leader of the free world brings us nicely to our final story. Communism, our Communist Party, marks the end of the WHO era. Xi Jinping is expected to become the new leader of the most populated country in the world. He's been up since 7 o'clock
this morning trying to pronounce that.
Pretty much.
Who? Oh, boo-boo.
I'm just wondering, the amount of hype over the US elections, should we have had the same amount of hype over the Chinese elections?
It was, though. There was never going to be as much excitement because
it's a predetermined.
Everybody knew what was going to happen.
Well, the Irish Times today has done a great kind of comparison between Chinese electing their president and the US election of their president. And, the perfect picture is 118 million citizens in the US vote, whereas in China, 0 ordinary citizens of any age will choose their leader. It just
That's the difference, Yes.
It's
It's just the leader that changes. The politics don't change.
But sure, then
party line.
Realistically, do we have much of a different system? Let's face it.
Well,
it seems to be the same blank section of politics.
I'd like to think we
we
have
can
the
always
Henry Ford system.
Going up for a job in Canada or something like that.
Yeah.
They can't.
But you know, we've the Henry Ford politics. You can have any colour you want as long as it's black. You know, that's the kind. You can have any politician you want as long as it's corrupt.
Yeah.
No,
And,
that's not true. No,
Do we have a non-corrupt political?
We have a non-corrupt. You have to believe in the system.
Oh, a competent.
You have to accept the flaws. Accept that it is flawed and hope that,
Didn't know you were that
hope
brainwashed,
that it will be
Sheila.
changed.
You see,
That's
that it will be
great
changed.
hope and faith in something
Yeah.
which
No,
Well,
I mean,
the
I
Chinese
there's a lot
government,
wrong with it, but
the
God,
Chinese
you know,
government
I think-
gives. If you want to set up a store in Spain,
Yeah.
they will give you 2 million to go and put it up, and they and the Spanish government will give you 5 years tax free, but you must sell only Chinese goods.
Yeah.
And that's why I told Mary we're not buying eggs. They have to come from China.
Yeah.
But to be fairly gone off again to get to Spain. But anyway, what happened was they are helping the Chinese economy. It's all been manufactured in China
Yeah.
and sold in the big supermarket. And they've taken over one road that I know in a particular area of Spain. There's on 6 big hypermarkets, Chinese, all Chinese, Chinese workers. Everything in it is Chinese.
Do you think the Irish could do that? It might help our economy.
Well, I'd say it will happen. Well, judging by all the not pizza parlours, or kebabs and places like that, it's starting.
Do you think?
No, what I mean is the Irish government investing a little bit in Irish shops. If the shop only sells Irish goods, I mean, it might do
Well,
something to kick.
the nearest they got to that was Buy Irish.
Oh God,
Yes.
did that ever work?
And that was a few books that they sent out around the country.
Buy Irish, and then Little arrived.
Yeah.
Um,
Were you happy with? But going back to the American elections, were you happy with the whole elections? Because you followed it quite in depthly, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I suppose what is it with Irish people? Do we just automatically tend towards the Democrats? You know, but I know there's lots of Irish Republican Party supporters, but maybe Republican is a different connotation here. Dave is saying in my ear. He might be right about that.
We seem to go for who we think is the underdog.
Yes,
Yeah.
possibly.
When I
that's
seen him
true.
crying on television tonight, Obama, he was very emotional at a student gathering, you know, and it was like somebody was after having 12 children at the one time. They never seen a man crying before.
No.
You know, especially the president
In
of
fact,
America.
that's been one of the
But he is supposed to be human anyway.
That's been one of the criticisms of him, that he's been cold, that he's been removed from the people. So maybe that's he is human.
I don't know who came up with that idea, because he seemed to be. I think I always thought Romney was more cold. Like,
yes.
Like Obama was talking. Wasn't talking down to the people; he was talking with them. Romney seemed to be talking down to them. You know.
So we'll have to see now. He has another 4 years, so he has to make up for it. There's been a lot of disappointment with his first term, so he has time to make up for it now.
He'll get a good pension too.
And his final 4 years, maybe he'll do some drastic things in it. Well, unless there's a war or something.
Imagine
a third term.
He hasn't even got the same. Imagine our own teacher gets more money a week than him.
Well, not now. He used to in Brian Cowan's time, or in previous.
Oh well, that
Taoiseach's
was well
times.
worth it then.
But now I think Enda Kenny's salary is in around 200,000, just over the 200,000 mark, whereas Barack Obama's is around the 290,000. Now, there's a little tidbit for you.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well,
It's only chicken feed.
And on that note,
Yep, that brings us to the end of our show. Jet, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you for
Brilliant
having
to have
me.
you again.
Thank you.
And I tell you something, next time we have you on, we'll have to bring down your collection of
Oh,
memorabilia.
hello.
we'll be raiding Jet's attic.
We'll be doing a show from Jet's attic. Lighting and
Cash
all.
in the attic.
And thank you very much, Sheila, as always. And thanks to the lads in the back as well, Dave and Brian. From all of us here at Cavan TV, remember folks, if you want to get a topic on or come on the show, contact us on cavantv.com or drumlinmedia@gmail.com. And that's all from us for this week. Thanks very much.